local winery. Now that's an oxymoron. However, we shook hands, made a deal to buy keyways. And we get the attorney's office and he changed his mind, which is the best thing that ever happened to us. There is a God. We would not have made it down there with 13 acres to support 4 families. So at the time, this property became available. It was owned by a group of people up in the Bay Area. Now, are you ready for this? They're Iraqis who escaped from Saddam Hussein with their wealth and made various investments in California. And this being one of them, and they're shipping the fruit up to Napa. But they weren't happy with the return they were getting. These grapes were planted in 1970. And Rosie would remind me, a woman supervised it, okay? And anyway, 2 family members each took a 20-acre parcel and put a price tag on it. There were 6 of them, 6 20 acres. And they're standing on parcel 19. All this was Cabernet. There were no buildings here at all. And I had enough money from retirement to borrow money. And I've been in debt ever since. To buy a winery today, you go up to Napa and you talk to people who bought your winery and who owns it and how did you get started. It's usually people with too much money they don't know what to do with. That was not our position at all. We were eating peanut butter sandwiches at night, drinking wine. And I wore a tube belt for the first time in my life, and Rosie did too. And I learned that self-propelling screws aren't self-propelled, and so forth. So it was a fun experience. And so we worked right alongside the workers in order to get this started. We had the typical ups and downs and so forth, but we finally opened the doors in the fall of 2000. And we have approximately a little over 100 acres here. We grow 13 different varietals here. Our sparkling wines actually, our Chardonnay is the base grape for that, and it is made for us up in the Lodi area. And here comes the boss.
Well, I don't think you need me.
Here.
Oh, isn't he fancy? Yeah, we can go get everybody that's a banner. Thank you.
Okay. And that's how we got started. Now, what qualified us to go into this business? Zip, really. We drank wine, that was about it. But as in any business, if you hire good people, Bill and I, who's now CEO of my oldest son, we're up at trying to learn how to make wine. What's the college up there, north? In the Napa
Santa
area?
Clara?
What?
Santa Clara?
No, I'll get to it, but what? When you get my age. But anyway, the chemistry went right over our head, and I turned to Bill and said, we better get a good winemaker. Which we now have, we think. When we got here, the wines were pretty mediocre. That was the slam against us. So a decision was made by all the wineries, let's get together and make our wines better. And I think we're coming along pretty well in that regard. But you're the judge of that. People ask me, what's my favorite wine? My smart answer is whatever you're buying. But in all seriousness, I love them all. It depends on the time of day and what I mean. If I'm out here on a hot day eating a salad, I don't want a heavy red. Bring on the whites. Conversely, with a baron of beef, bring on the heavy reds. Now, entertaining, you put a bottle of wine, of red or white and white on the table, they both disappear. Whatever you like is the best wine. We try to take wine off the snob shelf and have people enjoy the experience of having wine. It's not rocket science. Bottom line, whatever your favorite wine is, that's for you. and tastes vary. It's like a bunch of apples, green apples to delicious. There's all kinds in between. And that's the neat thing about wine is that the fun of wine tasting is to taste something you never, maybe you haven't tasted before. So we're gonna go right into the barrel room first, and then we'll go to the tank room. And I promise not to talk too long so we can get back up there partying, okay? Follow me.
UC Davis?
About 55 gallons of wine in each one. You can see there's Zin over there and so on, Zinfandel. We have French oak and American oak. The difference between the two is about $500 a barrel.
And the
French
taste
oak
is
costs
quite
a
different.
little over $1,000 a barrel. So you order 60 barrels, that's a chunk of change. It's a capital, American oak is about half that price. Now when we opened, the price was about half of what it is right now. French oak actually has a very small grain to it, great for long-term wines. I'm generalizing here. American oak is just the opposite. It's from Minnesota down to Nebraska and over to Kentucky and so forth. Big cellular structure and totally used for white wines, but a winemaker will blend them both sometimes. Each barrel is toasted on the inside, put over a fire, actually, a bonfire, and that toast caramelizes the sap that's in the wood, and it leaks into the wine over time. So if you were starting from scratch, it takes about 5 years to really get a bumper crop. But you can start harvesting in 3 years. But think if you were starting, you would go 5 years or so without any income. Then you make the wine, give another 2 years. So about 7 or 8 years goes by. We had a wedding party here before we officially opened, and people came in from the wedding party to buy our wines and gave us money, you know. And we weren't legally open, but all summer long we went not turning anybody away. And we had a sign out there, opening soon. We gave a whole new meaning to that. But we were ready for one more inspection. It was the sanitation inspection, so we cleaned off the bar, did everything as if we'd never served anything there. And I thought to myself, what am I going to say to him if he asked? Were we ever open? Did we ever serve wine? And tell the truth. So anyway, what happened is he came down, gave us the inspection, came up, shook my hand, and said, "Congratulations, you're open." I said, "Well, thank you." And he started walking away. I started walking away. He said, "Oh, just one more thing." Colombo, And I came back and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I want to congratulate you on your red wine." So I said, "Really?" "Yeah, I was in here a couple of weeks ago." Are you ready for this? He said, "You were kind enough to sign my bottles." I said, "I'm busted, aren't I?" He said, "No." He said, "You're fine." Okay, that's cool. Any questions about barrels?
How long do the wines stay in the barrel?
It's up to the winemaker, but generally, I'll give you a round number, a couple of years.
Okay.
But our wines are really made to drink now, rather than hold them forever. Doesn't hurt to hold them, but we like to think they're drinkable the minute we bottle them.
Okay.
Speaking of bottling, we just are bottling right now, or today. We have a bottling line out there that comes in. It's a mobile one. And Gus, our winemaker, can call them anytime and they come.
You know, Jerry, when I went to some of the whiskey places, and they buy wine barrels to then put their whiskey in after
Yeah.
that for the flavor and things. Do you sell any?
We buy whiskey barrels for the wine. We do sell them to our customers, actually, for about $100, $100 and a quarter a piece, something like that, $150. And people use them to decorate and all that.
So you cannot reuse them?
Pardon?
You cannot reuse them?
You can, but you can shave the interior off and start all over again, but the wood becomes real thin. And the answer is no, as far as our winemaker is concerned. Now, when we were first here, we did buy some used barrels that were used once, 1 year, by a real good winery up in Napa. And so we got them for about $60 a piece, and that helped us get started.
How many years will you use these?
In the barrel?
Yeah.
2,
2 years and what's that? And you sell the
3, depends on the wine. Okay, follow me, and go right straight through this door. Fluorescent lighting, and it's hard work. And the grapes are then brought down here about 2 in the morning, and the second crew comes in and puts them on a crush pad. We have our stuff out there. I'm going to take you out there tonight. It's too cold and dark and so forth. But the grapes are then crushed and immediately put into the tank. Had we let them sit out all day in the sun, a lot of microbial activity takes place, and it's not good for the grapes. So we try to get them in bed by 10. Can you hear me back there? Get them into the tank as quickly as possible. Then we add yeast to it. That yeast actually starts the fermentation process. And let me back up just a little bit. The whole process starts out in the vineyard. We have a vineyard manager who does nothing but make sure that a good grape gets to the winemaker. So he doesn't have to tinker around with it too much. The less you have to do that, the better the wine. So we call him the bioman. His name is Greg Pennyroyal. And other wineries throughout the valley use his knowledge. He's just a brilliant guy and does a great job. So we get the grapes here and they're crushed and then put into the tank, add yeast to it. The yeast actually eats up the sugar in the wine. And the sugars actually, the grapes tell you when they're ready to be harvested. Right now, we just had bud break with our Chardonnay. Little tiny buds come out, about 1/4 the size of a BB. And the name of the game is pray that nothing happens weather-wise to freeze those grapes before they, the rest of this month. Get into April, we're pretty safe. Out of 18 years, we've had 1 year where we lost some Chardonnay due to cold weather. Okay, we get them down here, put them in the tank, add yeast. The yeast gobbles up some of the sugars. Now, the sugar level is measured out there in the field. They call that a field test. Then they're brought into a lab in the final minutes or days to make sure we hit the right level. And they're called sugar level of 21 or 22. It's a French word that comes out on that. As I say, the white wines come in first, Chardonnay and Viognier and so forth. The red wines wait for a while. Fortunately, they don't all come in at the same time. But it's a kind of an intense 2 or 3 weeks. And they're put in the tank, and picture, gobbling up the sugars in there. If we want to make a sweet wine, they can turn off that process and keep some of the sugar level in there. They do that by freezing or cooling off the tank rather rapidly. Anyhow, that process takes quite a while, and then it's eventually put into barrels and eventually put out there. Harvest level last year was fantastic. We did almost 390 tons of wine, grapes. Here again, depends on the weather. And our weather here is pretty predictable. In France and so forth, you have a little black book saying this is a good year, this is a bad year. Here we're pretty constant. We are Rhone Valley oriented. By that I mean we have to take here what Mother Nature gives us. Certain grapes do better here And in Oregon, other grapes do better, Washington, other grapes do better, and so on. So Rhone Valley varietals, Grenache and some of our Syrah is excellent here. Cabernet, probably Napa would beat us on a few, but we're trying to close the gap, and at least you get a better bang for the dollar here on a equal wine. But and that's about it as far as the harvesting. Any questions at all?
Is the, your white Cabernet, is that a different grape or is that
Yeah,
a mix
no.
of grapes?
Why didn't we take a perfectly good red wine and make a white wine out of it?
Because some of us don't
For
like
two
red.
reasons. It tastes pretty good, but you're the judge of that, and it sells like crazy. It's the #1 seller over our almond flavored sparkling wine. We can't use the word champagne anymore. But anyway, our sparkling wines used to be the top selling one, the almond one, but now here, just in this tasting room, it is the white one. All wine gets its color from the skins. So if we leave the skins on, it becomes a deep red, as Cabernets are. If we cut it off halfway, we get kind of a pinkish color. Guess what kind of wine that would be? Right.
Rosé.
So, and sparkling wine, that's another deal. We have most of our sparkling wines made up in the Lodi area, because that's a profession all of its own. But we ship some of our wines up there, and Chardonnay is the base grape for that, and they do a good job for us. Now, as you go out that door,